that peace treaty is still in effect to today. So I'll just start. The oldest pole I think in the park now, besides the pole on the point's pretty old, but this one in the center is Master Carver, and you can see he has a Chilkoot blanket on. They say low man on the totem pole, but I don't think that's very true because Master Carver is really important, and he kind of holds everybody else up. That is a Tsimshian carved pole. A lot of the Tsimshian live on an island kind of a little bit south of Ketchikan. They do have a ferry that goes over there and back. It's called Annette Island, and the town is Metlakatla. It is a reserve. It is not a reservation. They were not forced to live there. They chose to live there. The other three poles here in the front are Haida carved poles. That's a Haida clan house. And the Haida live some like around in this area. They live all over the island now, but that's where they are mostly. They also live on Prince of Wales Island, which is another island. It's about a 3 or 4 hour ferry ride from here, kind of north and west, called Prince of Wales, and that's where there's a lot of Haida over there. The Tsimshian and the Haida, they carve from top to bottom, lots of stories on the pole and lots of carving. Whereas on the far side, you'll see the poles are very plain, very empty, one story per pole, and that's how the Tlingit people carve. So that's what the difference is between the poles here. That's Blackfish is the first one. This is Otter Boy, that's the one that was in behind the Restoration Center. You can see the difference in the octopus at the bottom. And then what I like to talk about is on the left-hand side at the front here is the little guy has a hat on, and that is a potlatch hat. They still have potlatches today. And what the deal with the potlatch is Chief thinks he has some money and he's willing to give it away, some wealth. So he holds a potlatch. He invites everybody to come. He feeds them, they sing and dance, they have a good time for a few days. And then during that time, there's some type of a ceremony. The younger kids might get their Tlingit name, or grandfather might pass a blanket on to his grandson or his son. Then at the end of that potlatch, he gives away a lot of his wealth. I attended one at Saxman a number of years ago, and what they did was the fellow passed his blanket on to his grandson, and that's why they held the potlatch. Inside the building, there was all kinds of presents around the outside. There was things like coffee makers and blenders and whatnot, things that people can use today. Then at the end of that, after he gave away all his wealth, then what he expects is one of the other chiefs to hold a potlatch, and then he'll get some of his wealth back. So, good example of that is William H. Seward. He was up here in this area. He was the one that bought Alaska from the Russians for about 2 cents an acre. He went to some potlatches, took all the wealth that the natives gave him, put him on his ship, and went south. So they put up a pole for him in one of the other parks, and waited for a little while for him to come back and bring some wealth back for the natives, but he never did. So what they did was they painted his ears and his nostrils red, and now that's a ridicule pole. So there's different kinds of poles. And this island, how we got so many poles here is people lived on all these little islands. They had their own clan houses, they had their own carving, they had their own stories, and education started to get to be important. One lady figured that a lot of disease maybe hit some of the natives. So what they did was they left all their clan houses, they left all their poles where they were, moved to bigger centers like here in Ketchikan. In the meantime, the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, they showed up in this area, and they went to all the different islands, and they gathered as many poles as they could rescue and brought them over here and put them on the island. So right now, This is kind of Haida area, but you can see we have the different kinds of poles. At Saxman is where there's a lot of Tlingit, so they have their poles there, and that's where one of the carving centers is. And then further south, there's now another totem park that they've opened, and it's a lot of the Tsimshian people, and that's where their carving is. There's a fellow and his uncle have done a lot of the poles in that park, and so they're working on getting poles from the different areas. So one of the parks it's called a mystery pole, and what happened was it's come from one of the islands. They don't know any of the stories on that pole, and they don't know who carved that pole. So that's why it's our mystery pole. And we're just going to kind of wander along. You'll see those poles are pretty plain. The first one has a potlatch hat on. This one has 3 rings on it. That means that fellow attended 3 potlatches. The one in the corner only has 2 rings, so he attended 2 potlatches. The next one is a bear. She's at the top of the mountain. You'll see her prints going up. She's up on the top of the mountain. She's mourning the loss of her husband. And the next one is Fog Woman, and that's where the Ketchikan bird is missing. And that's where we're going to stop next, and I'll tell you that story.